Hello everybody, my name is Peter Kampf, Vice President with MarshBerry, and I'm pleased to be joined today by the Andy Gorman with Ryan Specialty. Andy, do you mind giving a quick introduction?
Yeah, happy to. And first of all, Pete, great to be speaking with you today. My name is Andy Gorman, as Pete mentioned. I'm the SVP of Strategy M&A for Ryan Specialty.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Andy. We asked you to join us today for the unique perspective you can provide as one of the M&A experts for one of the largest buyers in the specialty insurance distribution space. Specifically, one of the major trends we saw in 2024 was a big drop in transaction volume. From our perspective, that seemed to be buyer demand really outpacing seller supply this last year. Can you provide a buyer's perspective on what you saw as well as what you expect going forward?
Absolutely. So I think what you laid out is absolutely true. Supply is down, demand is up. I think we've actually had the good fortune of being a little bit insulated from some of those dynamics. And I think it's really related to two things. The first of which being Ryan Specialty specific. So we've really had the good fortune of being the go-to buyer for the highest quality assets of all sizes. And I think that's driven a lot by some of the productivity enhancements we can give to these acquired firms. So we can obviously help with distribution. We have great relationships with the vast majority of the top 100 retail brokers. We can help with capital support. We have leading technology. We have great back and middle office support. And I think most of all, we really provide an entrepreneurial environment for these new firms. And at the end of the day, I think what you look for with a lot of sellers is they want to make sure that their employees have the right career development opportunities going forward. They have the ability to increase their earnings potential going forward, and I think we can offer that in spades. As I mentioned, there's two dynamics. The second dynamic is really industry specific, and I think it's a little bit of a credit to our industry. I think buyers are becoming a lot more sophisticated in differentiating the high quality platforms from the low quality platforms. So what we're seeing is, you get to a point where you're in a process and you say, I'm looking at the price is rational. Am I actually the buyer that can help this business accelerate its growth going forward? And I think, another somewhat related piece to this is the sellers are getting a lot more sophisticated thanks to a lot of the work that you are doing. So sellers are looking for, how am I going to maximize my earnout? Is this buyer going to help me maximize my earnout? Sellers are looking for speed, they're looking for certainty, and they're looking for the right home for the employees. So as you kind of look in the crystal ball for 2025, I don't think there's any going back. I think the sellers are going to continue to look for the right homes. I think the buyers are going to continue to look for the assets that they think they can help grow going forward.
That's great perspective, Andy. I think you hit on one of our core kind of competencies at MarshBerry that we find when sellers are searching for the right buyer, and that is that fit really drives value. So ultimately, you find the right buyer fit and that right partner for the future. Typically, value comes and aligns with that right fit. So really great perspective when we were focusing on transaction volumes being down a bit in the US market, but Ryan Specialty has also been part of this greater trend of buying overseas and specifically had some really meaningful, successful transactions in the UK with Innovis and Castell this last year. So can you provide some perspective on what you're seeing in the European marketplace and how the competitive M&A landscape differs from what you see in the US?
Sure. So I'll start out by saying the most active buyers in the UK right now are US-backed buyers. Yep. So you're not actually seeing a fundamentally different world in the US. You're competing on price, obviously, you're competing on certainty, and you're competing on the right home for the employees. I think we were able to really articulate what we could offer to both Innovis and Castell on that basis. As you leave the continent and go towards Europe, and you guys are deep in the European continent at this point, it becomes a lot more fragmented. Yep. And you get a lot more opportunities, but there's also a lot more challenges that come with local laws, local customs, local languages. And so definitely a huge opportunity there. I think a lot of it comes down to having the boots on the ground. With Innovis and Castell, we're fortunate to have really people all over the European continent at this point. Yep. We think there's a lot of opportunity, but I think it's going to be a slower build towards a big delegated authority business in the European continent, just because it's a little bit earlier stages and it's a lot more fragmented.
We appreciate that. Thank you again for your time today. It's been a great conversation and great perspective.